My dear friends, it is no exaggeration to say that Christianity as it stands in the modern world is increasingly becoming irrelevant. And so therefore, there are all kinds of different criticisms that are leveled against Christians, Christian churches, Christian concepts, and even Christian morality. Now, when you try to understand the problem in so many different angles, there are few who have been able to really analyze the problem from its very core. Father Richard Rowe, the American theologian of the 21st century, who has written a number of books on how Christianity should make itself relevant to the modern times, says that one of the failures of the Christians or the followers of Christ is that we have only become so very orthodox, especially Roman Catholics. Orthodoxy is very important. Orthodoxy is emphasized, but orthopraxis is not so much there. Now, these are two technical words or terms. But what is orthodoxy and what is orthopraxis? Now, for us Christians, especially Catholics, we do know that we have been trained to talk about our doctrine, our morality, our faith in right terminology. In other words, we have been trained, or we know how to say it correctly, how to say it right, but not necessarily we do it right, as Father Richard Rowe says. Now, if there is anyone in the world who claims to be a member of a religion, if that religion talks about whatever the morals and ethics and principles and values that are being spoken of, if you only talk about it and if you don't live them, that in itself is a contradiction. So, religions have become contradictions in the world today because the social research also shows more religiosity that you find in a country or a nation, more problems there are. Today, it has become the finding of most of the sociologists who claim to say that religions have become contradictions in terms because they talk about peace and harmony, but the more religiosity you find in a country, there is always violence and all kinds of discriminations and problems. So now, today the liturgy of the word taken from Matthew chapter 16. Of course, we have reflected on it last Sunday, and there is a clear case of the problem that Father Richard Rowe points out. Peter, last Sunday, chapter 16 itself, he knew how to say it right. What did he say it right? What he said was, when Jesus asked him, "Who do you say that I am?" "You are Christ, the Son of the living God." He said it right. But now today, in the same chapter, in a few verses later, Jesus condemns him and calls him, "Satan, get behind me." Why? Because he knew how to say it right, but he did not know how to do it right. Jesus rebukes him when Peter says, "Let this not happen to us." Now, my dear friends, in the world today, there is a common understanding that the history of a country or a nation or a community is determined by the kind of leaders they have. So when it comes to any history of a country or a nation or a community, it is the leaders or their lives, their vision, their mission is spoken of. So if you talk about any country in the world, if there is an outstanding leader who's been respected during their lifetime as well as after their lifetime, They were always men who said it right, but also they did it right. Now, if you take the story of Mahatma Gandhi, if Mahatma Gandhi, during his own lifetime, knowing very well the oppression of the people of India, if he had ever said to his people or his colleagues, I am convinced of the need for independence for our people, I will lead all the seminars, all the rallies, I will speak, I will conduct conferences, but let me not join any of these actions against the oppressive regime, people would never have found Gandhi a true, authentic leader. Why do they still respect him? Because he said it right and also he did it right. He was orthodox in his convictions in terms of independence struggle, and he was also a man who lived his orthopraxis. That is, he did it right. He was out there in the forefront of the struggle. He convinced the people in his words and speeches, but also at the same time, he put his neck out, as it were. And that is why he became the true leader of independence of India. We'll take another example. Martin Luther King, the great freedom fighter for the black population in the United States. Now, he was a man who said it right because he was so clear in his vision. He knew what he wanted to achieve for the black communities. He knew how to lead his people. He struggled. He went and led everyone in the forefront until he was killed. He said it right, but also he did it right. That is why he is considered a great freedom fighter even to this day. So therefore, my dear friends, the gospel today brings out to our attention how Jesus was able to say it right wherever he was, and he did it right. How? Now we find that when Jesus is confronted with the truth of his own destiny because of what he said, Jesus was never killed because he was the Son of God. Jesus was never killed because he performed miracles. He was never condemned to death because he was a man who had sensitivities for his people. It is because he said it right. Because when you say anything right in any time of history, you have got to do it right as well. That's the integrity that the world needs, that people needs from their own leaders. So, today, when Peter says to Jesus, "Let this not happen to you, Lord. You don't go to Jerusalem. You don't meet with death. You don't have to be crucified. Don't allow yourself to be killed." Jesus sees him as an obstacle because the Hebrew meaning of the word Satan is an obstacle. We have personified the word Satan and we imagine a dark, long teeth, animal sort of an individual. That's the image we have. But the Satan that Jesus talks about here is a person who says he's right, but doesn't want to do it right. And that was the problem of Peter. So for you and for me, my dear friends, living in the world that we have been placed, we all do know that the world is full of corruption, fraud, deception, lies, injustices, manipulations, you name it, we have it. If we step back and ask ourselves as to why these problems or these issues, these conflicts are present around us, it's because most of us know how to say it right, because all of us will condemn corruption, all of us will denounce what is evil. We will always say we do not accept injustices and manipulations. We always say it right, but we do not do it right. And these sentiments which are being expressed today in the gospel is also written by one of the great writers, the Italian poet Dante Alighieri. Now, he captures this entire problem in one of his writings. He says, "The hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in times of great moral evil and moral crisis, maintain their neutrality." Now, this is how he captures the entire problem of Christianity. Now, we all do know sometimes, as believers, as Christians, just as Peter was found to be saying, we say it right, but we do not do it right. Why? We all want to play safe when it comes to doing anything. If you want to fight injustices, you have to go out there and do what you can do as an individual, as a family, as a community. Whatever that you can do has to be done, because the longer we play it safe and saying we are Christians, we don't criticize people, we don't change whatever that is there, we have to be peacemakers, and so therefore we will stand neutral. You go to any house, any family, there are people who want to play it safe. They are neutral, they don't take sides, they don't condemn anybody, they want to be these people pleasers, but corruption, evil, what is unjust will always thrive in places where there are people who do not have the courage to do whatever that needs to be done. That's the core of the problem. As Father Richard Rose says, that's the core problem of Christianity today. We have so much of saying it right, but not doing it right. Orthodoxy has to be replaced with orthopraxis. If all Christians get together and fight against evil, if all of us consciously get involved in eradicating injustices, if all of us stand together as individuals and as families and say what is not acceptable is not acceptable, not only in words but also in and through our actions. So therefore, my dear friends, Peter's experience is also our experience. We know it, we say it always well, but we do not do it well. Amen.